Next on MLR Weekly, Chicago owner Phil Groves, Bryan Ray of America's Rugby News with a Week 1 preview, and Rugby Morning's Coffee Break with John Fitzpatrick.
Oh, yeah.
Rugby Wrap-Up's MLR Weekly brought to you by Sheehy Auto Stores. It's easy at Sheehy. The Pig and Whistle, New York City, the world's best rugby pub. And Lean and Limber, stretching your way to a healthier lifestyle. Welcome to this week's MLR Weekly, as presented by Rugby Wrap-Up. Matt McCarthy in New York City. We've got a big weekend of rugby ahead of us, including the MLR 2023 debut. We've got Phil Groves, owner of the Chicago Hounds. We've got Bryan Ray of America's Rugby News with a quick recap. But before we get to those gentlemen and everything else, we have our recurring segment, Rugby Morning's Coffee Break with John Fitzpatrick, giving MLR headlines. John, hello. What do you got?
Hey, Matt, I think the biggest headline or the biggest question going into Week 1 is, where is Billy Meeks? He's not in Chicago. Doesn't look like he's going to be at Segra Field where Old Glory plays Week 1 against Chicago. It looks like he's in Australia. What in the world is going on there?
Yeah, it's we'll find out soon enough, but how does that impact your fantasy Rutgers fantasy team, John?
Next, Major League Rugby, they confirmed their postseason format for this season. It'll be very similar to last year. It'll be 3 rounds, starting with the eliminator round. So the top 3 seeds from each conference will advance. The number 1 seed will have a bye into the conference finals. The eliminator round will consist of seeds 2 and 3 battling out. The winner will advance to the conference finals. And the winner there from each conference will meet in the championship final, taking place on July 8th on Fox. Matt, who do you think the 2 teams will be that will meet for the MLR Shield in July?
Well, pending any Western Conference cap issues, I would have to say that it would be Seattle and New York, perhaps, in a rematch of last year's final. Who are you picking, John?
I'm gonna go with San Diego Legion versus the New England Free Jacks.
Next!
Certainly, last but not least, in other news across the Americas, the American Raptors, they kick off Super Rugby Americas. They've got their round 1 matchup against Selknam in Chile. Matt, do you think the American Raptors are going to win any games this season?
Well, when you're a fledgling franchise in a fledgling professional setup and you're an on-the-road team playing against essentially a national team, which is what Selknam is, it's where all the Chileans play, you're going to be up against it. So I hate to say it, but I can't pick my fellow Americans in this one. Next!
Matt, that's all I got. I just want to wish you good luck in your first matchup in MLR Fantasy with the Fantasy Ruckers. I gave your draft a C+. Look, a lot of people have passed and have gotten degrees with their C+, but I don't think you're going to make the playoffs, but we'll see.
You'll never work in this town. But thank you, John Fitzpatrick of Rugby Morning's Coffee Break. We'll be right back with Mr. Phil Groves of the Chicago Hounds after this.
Selling or trading in your vehicle? Sheehy makes it easy. With Easy Trade, start online or visit us in store. We want your vehicle, and we'll give you up to 125% of KBB value.
It's easy at Sheehy. Sheehy.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with Mr. Phil Groves, owner of the Chicago Hounds. Phil, been trying to get you on for a long time. It's great to see you.
Thank you very much. Great to be here, Matt.
All right. So, Phil, you got into rugby because of your son, but it was in Hong Kong.
Yeah, that's right. 2008, Hong Kong. My son started playing rugby when a neighbor invited him. And so I learned what little I know about rugby from watching him play. And then eventually in 2015, I joined a club here in Chicago and attempted to learn how to play. And I'm still playing with that club today. And so that's my love of rugby comes from actually my son, watching my son and from supporting some charitable rugby functions. I started a business in Hong Kong in 2001. I work in China mostly in the financial markets.
All right. So the background as a Chinese debt collector suits you perfectly to be an owner in Major League Rugby. How did this come about, though?
The original idea was I was friends with some of the folks from Glendale. And so when they decided they were leaving the league, they called me, and so that started the ball rolling, which took more than 3 years to get finished. And, eventually there was 4 of us as the founders.
Back in China, you helped start what is now called the World Rugby's Pass It Back.
Yeah,
program?
Child Fund Pass It Back, which is the World Cup charity for Japan. It'll be for France. And so while my son was learning how to play, I got involved in volunteering for the Lao Rugby Federation, which was bringing rugby to rural Lao. And, it was more from a life skills and a charity standpoint than really trying to build at that time a rugby powerhouse. They have since joined World Rugby. So, one of the goals was accomplished. But really the idea was use rugby to help people who could use the help. And that's one of our goals for the Hounds is to work with Child Fund to bring that program to the U.S. We hope they're going to pilot that in Chicago with our help and really with the help of the local youth rugby community, because obviously we're not here to supplant anybody. We're here to work with them and to make 1 + 1 = 3. A lot of cliches work for the Hounds because some of them are tried and true. And so we really think that we work with already here. We bring some other people in, get some resources. We can really make something that's bigger than people could have imagined. And so that's the part of the business I focus on, I guess, if I made up a title for myself, it would be Chief Community Officer. I don't do anything on the field. I'm not involved with the players. I don't draft people. I'm certainly not training them. But the community side is really what my passion was. And all the four original founders shared that. James is actually the CEO of the company, so he actually has to wear both hats.
James English.
But Darren and Matt and I, our passion was that, Darren, has been a coach. He was, my coach playing at the same time we were bidding on the franchise. So we made some interesting conversations. And Matt is also on the team. And, Matt had played Super Rugby back in the days when Super Rugby was there. So he had played at a high level. And, Darren is both a British and Irish line and a Welsh captain. And James
is our beloved Darren Morris that we're referring to.
Exactly. So
and Matt is
Matt Satchwell. And so he's a longtime Condor. Back when Condors were Division I, and they were killing it. Matt played on those teams, and also
when the Condors were soaring.
Yeah, they're soaring again. Just we're in a different orbit at the moment. But again,
they got you as a number 6. I mean, no offense, but D2 team.
I like to. Yeah,
they've got the best just 20 yet, pal. But
yeah, thank you. Yeah, they got the best number 23 out there. You can't ask for a better one. So I like it when they change the name to finishers instead of substitutes.
Yeah. Well, finish strong, baby. 20 minutes. Give me 20 minutes.
I can give it 20. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
In old boys, we do the 20 minutes change on the fly like ice hockey.
Yeah. I some days I think I'd prefer that, but at the moment, it's not working like that.
Chase a kick, get gas, take the flag from the touch judge. That person goes in the game. It works. It's perfect.
Have a beer and then get back in there. So
I'm not going to condone that, but yes. Yeah.
So, someday.
Bill, we got to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with Mr. Phil Groves of the Chicago Hounds after this.
I've been blind since I was 4, and I've never seen a beer commercial or a beer label. None of that stuff influences me. I drink beer because of the taste, and my beer is Pabst Blue Ribbon. It has the taste and the flavor.
What do you think's on the label?
I think there's a naked woman riding on a unicorn, jumping over fire. Oh, that's good beer.
Phil, we're back.
So basically when, Glendale called me and suggested, hey, you should look into this. They also, gave me James's name, said, look, James is a well-liked guy. People in the league like him. He has experience being a GM. And so I, called James up. Turned out he had already known Darren from, other days, rugby, everyone in rugby seems to know each other. So, it was good. We had 4 people that we, a shared vision, so to speak, and a lot of patience. And, Matt's an attorney, he's very organized. And so, he took the lead on most of the negotiations with the league. And James, Darren, and I kind of worked on what we wanted to do a lot, from the early stages, we sort of sketched out how we wanted the community side to work. So I've been, talking to Child Fund Pass It Back for a while, as well as, the various youth organizations here in the city to figure out a way how we can all work together to basically, serve more kids over a broader area and just make more opportunities for everybody. And the Pass It Back gives you a side that, a lot in the U.S. you don't see is there's the life skill portion of that, because there's a lot, rugby really works well with life skills, the concept of teamwork and leadership and things like that. And especially in areas in Chicago where there's, significant amount of the youth population that probably could use that. And so we're really excited to start that. We're just in the ground stages of setting up that piece of it. But, we have a thriving youth group, that are actually playing at the moment. Illinois Youth Rugby Association is the governing body for that. So as we start to unfreeze here, we'll probably start to do more outside with the kids. Our game day experience, we're lucky because we have a pitch that has 3 pitches outside of it. So on game day, we have 3 pitches to use for community-based activities. So, it could be youth, it could be a club. We're going to have at least a couple games with the WPL because, we're very fortunate to have a WPL team here in Chicago. And we're really excited to work with North Shore and have some games. They start a little later than we do. So unfortunately, the seasons don't perfectly overlap, but we have at least 2 games that we're both home at the same time. And, we'll be bringing, some clubs in. The youth will be able to play every 4 games. So we're pretty excited. The colleges, I think now have realized, hey, wow, we could have a 7s tournament before a Hounds game. So we have at least 2 of those I think we're going to do. So we're pretty excited. We, hopefully some of the touch rugby folks will have a day where they can show people, that, touch rugby is actually quite hard. And, I think you could easily argue you have to be fitter to play proper touch rugby than you do 15s. And so I think, there's lots of opportunities to bring the community there. We have an odd schedule because we have some Sunday games. So people, Sundays also for rugby, for us, not just Saturdays. So I'm coming up with a new
That's
slogan
catchy.
for that.
The hashtag Sundays also for rugby.
Sundays also for rugby. So we're working on that one. We got to patent that one. Matt is an IP attorney, so he's working on, getting those rights for us. But Sunday's also a rugby day. So, but we're excited for the season.
So you guys are wearing a whole bunch of caps or hats, doing a whole bunch of different stuff. And that scarf back there, I know that you're hawking those yourself, right?
Yep, just got 2 boxes in today. So we have a watch party for 6 Nations. And so I'm going to have them there tomorrow. And we have a Q&A session with James. Hopefully James will get most of the questions because he certainly has the answers. And, give some of our fans, we were a little, as a startup, we didn't have the full array of paraphernalia and swag the other teams have, but we're going to make up for it in quality. We got some other exciting ones that we got ordered. So, but tomorrow will be, first time we're out there. We have a great supporter group, the Kennel Club and the Strays that, really a great benefit and
good
support.
Stuff. I like. How did the name come about, and how did the color scheme come about? Because I'm liking it. The Hounds thing is growing on me. It's got a bunch of possibilities. I do play-by-play, so I love having the opportunities to think about things to say about that.
Well, I think the Hounds came about because first you have to kind of choose what kind of name you wanted. And I think early on. And we had someone help us who was actually professional at this. But I think one of the things we wanted some kind of animal because we felt that a generic name, just the Chicagoans or something like that wouldn't work. And I think I'm a dog lover. I adopted a dog. Matt has dogs. Darren has dogs. So I think the dog theme just fit us. And the Hound, to find what the name. I think the Hound, you could, if you wanted to use the Irish side, it'd be the Irish Wolfhounds. But if you didn't want, it could be the Junkyard Dog. But the Hound is just, I wouldn't say generic, but it's fairly broad. And
it works.
So, it works for us. I think the colors, we love the colors. I mean, obviously, Chicago's known for dyeing our river green for St. Patrick's Day, but, I think the color scheme of blue and green was significantly different a little bit than other teams in Chicago. There's a lot of red in Chicago teams. I think, and, but I think, we wanted something unique. We definitely wanted, our emblem there, the round emblem that we're pretty certain from the early part. We like that, it's in the middle. The Y is the Y River in Chicago, which happens to be right outside Matt's office window. If you look outside Matt's thing, that's where the Y of the river is, which is known as Wolf's Point. And, that's it's where the Chicago
it's another dog related thing. Wolf's Point.
Exactly.
Right?
So it just kept coming back, and it just made sense. And we're really happy with the colors. And I think for the most part, we haven't got much negative feedback on it, so we're happy with that.
So this first season, since you guys have pretty much a very good team, like the Las Vegas Knights in the NHL, you are the best equipped expansion franchise in the history of sports in terms of talent. So what is success and what is failure, if you will, for you in season 1?
On the field. So, well, obviously, I don't think anybody, would fault if they say that, success is going to be, getting to a point where we think that, we're competitive every game we play, and, we're obviously aiming to be in the playoffs. I mean, that's, I don't think we're going to shoot any lower than that. We got a great bunch of people we drafted and people that came to us as free agents. A lot of them have Chicago ties. Patty Ryan was my coach last year for the Condors, and he's, one of our tight heads. And there's many other people on the team are from the Midwest. Bryce, originally an Indiana guy, went to the rival high school that Matt went to. So we have a lot of Indiana folks there. So we're pretty excited to have a lot of guys back. And a lot of people reached out to us, after sort of the announcement or the sneak got out that it was coming to Chicago, and players said, hey, I want to be in Chicago. We're fortunate that, Sam was able to, have some, insights into players down there for his team last year. And so obviously you'll see some continuity, not just on the field, but in some of the coaching staff and people he's worked with before. So we did get lucky there, I think, to tell you the truth. But really
you think?
Yeah. But we got a great bunch of players and a great staff. I didn't know many of them before, but I've got to know them. And, when you see the quality of the staff you have around the coach and the CEO, and you're like, wow, this is great. We really got some great people. We drafted a guy that I met back in Hong Kong, Luke White. I met him in Hong Kong because he also worked for Lao Rugby Federation for a while. So he and I hadn't seen each other in years since I probably played out in Glendale a few years ago. So it's great to see him again. But we're really excited. It's like, you get to the part where, you start to see the sugar plum fairies because, the season's almost here. From that, we're excited. We've worked out most of the visa issues. As you know, we got a few foreign players on the team, and the visa issue is always a concern.
It's always fun, right?
Always fun. So I think we just got another person in yesterday, got another one coming in shortly. So we're almost at full tilt.
If somebody were to say to you, I used to work in Chicago, does that mean anything to you?
It does, and I'm happy to say I joined rugby so late. I never learned any of the songs, but I do like
in a department store. Okay, yeah, all right, good. Because it's just so I can't help myself. I have to say it anytime somebody says something about Chicago. I just automatically knee-jerk say, I used to work in Chicago, and I know I can't say anything more than that, and we don't have to say anything more than that.
Well, we will. We will on the 5th for our first game. If you're there, you'll be getting that down, in the room afterwards for the social, because we'll definitely be having a team social after the game.
All right, excellent, Mr. Phil Groves of the Chicago Hounds. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back after this. Back with none other than the legendary Bryan Ray of America's Rugby News. Bryan, bienvenue.
It's swell to be back after a long and cold winter that apparently is still going on. But I'm warming up here in the glow of Snapdragon Stadium here, so I'm feeling a little bit better.
Yeah, you always put a Halifaxian in San Diego, it's going to make them happy. So, Bryan, all kidding aside, you've been putting out some very cool videos about each team. Tell us a little bit about that and where we can find them.
You can go to the Raise Rugby channel, or you can just go to America's Rugby News and check out those season previews right now, and all those little videos will be at the bottom of those posts.
If you want to sound like you know what you're talking about, you got to watch these videos. He tells you about the changes from the roster from last year. He tells you about what's going on this year, about potential lineups, all of it, soup to nuts. It makes people like me, who steal from him blatantly, and Doug Coyle, and it makes us look smarter than we actually are. So thank you, Bryan. It's the rugby love. Let's get to some of that rugby love right now. We got Rugby Atlanta kicking off against your Toronto Arrows. Tell us about these two teams and what do you think of the matchup?
A lot of continuity, really, with ATL. I think they didn't do a whole lot of recruiting in the offseason, just a couple guys. I mean, when they brought in this Ruita Biddle, this New Zealand 7 guy, looks like he's a bit of a stepper. So keen to see how he goes. But the core of the side, I mean, even Justin Basson, who they thought they were losing, decided to stick around. I guess the big name they've lost is Marco Yancey van Rensburg, their star hooker. But, they got a couple decent guys there anyways. Tiana Rasmus is back, and this new guy, Ben Strang. But so I think it'll be a pretty similar look, I think, is what we'll see from ATL this year. And they always start hot. Whereas the Arrows on the road, we've had longer preseason this year, so maybe a little bit fitter this year. But they do have a couple bumps and bruises. I guess that goes in part and parcel with the longer preseason. So, and they, didn't look super sharp against Old Glory. To be fair, they didn't bring any actual hookers with them. They had a flanker and hooker and the third string scrum half. So don't want to take too much from that result. But I want to start this year off right by doing a first on this show. Breaking news. I'm picking against the Arrows for the very first time.
That does not bode well for Arrows fans. Ooh. Oh, man. All right, Nola Gold, Free Jacks. You don't have your Free Jacks hat on. You got San Diego Legion hat on. We'll get to that later. But the Gold, home at the Gold Mine.
Really looking forward to this contest. I think this is going to be super close. Nola's made a ton of upgrades in the offseason. Finally got licensed to spend all the money on all 10 imports this year. So they got in some quality ones. Looking forward to see Tom Florence, this angry ginger back row they've got. And then New England, I mean, of course, they were awesome last year in the regular season and just came up, short by a smidgen against New York. So they'll be, certainly want to come out of the gates firing here. This is going to be a cracking game. Really looking forward to it. You know what? I'm going to go with Nola. I'm backing the Gold at home in a squeaker, maybe by 3 points or something. I can't wait to see this match, though.
Next game up is Saturday, Old Glory, DC, 2 p.m. kickoff versus the Chicago Hounds in their first game ever. Yours truly has the pleasure of calling that one with Mr. Colin Hawley.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of reason to be excited, certainly more than last year for DC fans. I mean, they got all these Argentines coming in. Ramiro Herrera, I don't think he's arrived quite yet, so maybe he won't play, but Tito Diaz-Bonilla is there already pulling the strings at 10. Jameson and Schultz, now the new captain, suspended for half the year last year. We'll just forget about that. Give him the captaincy. He'll be fine. So that's going to be interesting. And then Chicago, the new kids in town, right? Certainly a rush been putting their squad together. I think they're a little bit thin right now as far as numbers go. Still a couple bodies to come in. So I'm going to go with DC at home.
You're on fire with the scandalous picks and claims so far. What are you going to do about the next one? San Diego, you got the hat on, welcoming in the Utah Warriors into Snapdragon Stadium. That is 7 p.m. Eastern Saturday night. San
Diego's back. And look at their roster. They've got 2-3 deep, every position in the back line is absolutely ridiculous. Some of the forward picks, picking up Isaac Ross, Tom Franklin is back in the pack. They're going all out this year in the new stadium. They want to win this thing this year. Ma'ananu's not coming back, to just have a little jolly run around victory lap kind of thing. He wants the victory part of that lap. So I think he'll be fired up this season. Utah, however, they've also made a lot of upgrades to their roster. They kept, almost all their starting lineup. A couple key guys, though. Joel Hodgson, certainly this new fly half coming in with lots of Premiership experience, gives them a different look, lets them move Caleb McInerney back to fullback and Paul Lasike back for the full season. That's awesome. I got to go with San Diego, though, at home. They're not going to run out onto this field, and welcome rugby to Snapdragon Stadium with a loss. So I'm going to go with San Diego on this one.
How about Seattle and New York?
The rematch of the final. In New York, they want to defend that championship this year, so they want to start off on the right foot. But then you got Seattle, who have just, taken that lineup from last year and added quality to it. You look at just even the depth guys they've picked up, Mason Peterson and Josh Turnbull, the two props from Austin. That adds a lot to their lineup. That Starfire is going to be absolutely packed to the brim. I'm gonna go on the side of Seattle in this game.
The Dallas Jackals against the Houston SaberCats.
Totally new look. Dallas, can we call them the Jacales or something? I don't know how you say it in Spanish, but a whole lot of Argentines. Speaking of, Old Glory, well, they've gone way past Old Glory. This is almost an Argentina 15. They're going to be thrown out there. And all of those guys are now there. Pedro Imhoff was a little bit late showing up there. New scrum half. He's going to be real good. Geronimo Gomez Vara, this guy who's really on a rocket ship headed towards Puma's selection. He's captain there under 20 side flanker. Houston are favorites. Again, they've kept the bulk of their squad together. Just, tweaked. They got Hunkel Hermesheis in. They got Dom Aquina in. They got Nathan Den Hoot. Those are probably the big three. And Morgan Mitchell, the former Arrows tight head, who's a ton of fun. Houston probably takes this one.
All right. So, Brian, who's going to be in the final?
If San Diego can keep their guys fit, I think their best 15 looks pretty impressive. So I'm going to go with San Diego. My East pick is going to be New York.
And on that note, we're out of time. Thank thank you to Mr. Bryan Ray. Please check out his very informative videos on YouTube or on the America's Rugby News site. Thank you to Phil Groves of Chicago, John Fitzpatrick of Rugby Morning, and thank you for tuning in. Please check out our other content, the Rugby Odds, the College Rugby Wrap-Up. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Join our weekly newsletter, and please, please, please sign up for our American Red Cross Blood Donor Team.